आज हम यूनिट 4 जो है उसका पहला टॉपिक पढ़ने जा रहे हैं। यूनिट 4 का पहला टॉपिक जो है इट इज पॉलिटिकल कॉन्शियसनेस एंड द कॉजेस। It means actually how the people of Jammu and Kashmir got politically conscious. Politically conscious means how they realized the nature of this Dogra regime that was being an autocratic rule, a despotic rule, an undemocratic rule. How the people of Jammu and Kashmir got this political consciousness, and what were the actually causes that led to this emergence of political awakening in the among the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if you first of all see what is political consciousness, political consciousness का मतलब है? Political consciousness means the consciousness which is related to politics. And what type of consciousness is that? It means when people realize that what is their political right, it is being denied to them. Now, what is the political right of people? In most of the political theorists, I would say, they believe that actually it is the people who have right to govern. If you see all the political theorists who are called as contract theorists, there was Rousseau Shivan, Hobbes Shivan, there was Locke, they all actually believed in one thing. They all had almost the same ideas vis-a-vis this thing, that actually sovereignty belongs to people. If sovereignty belongs to people, means the right to rule is to people. Rule करने का. And since they all believe, these contract theorists, that since people cannot rule, all people cannot rule themselves. Therefore, what they do, they choose a person. They delegate their powers. They bestow this sovereignty in him. Tim se mise sovereignty devan. Lakshya mein sovereignty karan hawal. And gives him the right to rule on his behalf. I mean, shakhs shim devan right to कर rule सानी बदल. But actually, people have right to dethrone him, to oust him, whenever they feel this contract is broken. Contract is broken means that we have given him a right to rule and he is ruling as per the wishes of the people, as per the needs of the people, as per the powers that people have bestowed upon him. कोई इंसान लकन नहीं कैसे realize या अक्सर ये लिवायत लकन मन कैसे realize कि ये जन असली rights तिमन they are being violated. They are not being given the right that is due to them, that is the political right, right to form the government, right to this expression, right to choose representatives, right to express their opinion, right to influence the government decision. We साधन ये लकन के आक बेदरी पद एम किस्मच ये जन तिमन right से तिमना हशवंत नन दिन क्या. That is what is called a political consciousness. Or when people realize that the regime, the government, is not in their interest, is hampering their interests, is snatching the right from them. So once this realization is done, that is what is called a political consciousness. और तुम क्वेश्चन चाहिए कि political awakening or political consciousness in Jammu and Kashmir, what were its causes? जो ये political consciousness है, this political consciousness, the seeds of this political consciousness that we see from 1930. Prior to that, it seems that Kashmiris or Jammu and Kashmir people, they were not politically conscious. They were ruled as was liked by the ruler. The question then emerges, why around 1930s this political consciousness emerged? There are many reasons, and the reasons and the causes can be divided into two. One that can be called as basic cause. Basic cause of political consciousness, which were work from several decades, from several years together, and they actually bore fruit in 1930. And second can be called as immediate cause. कोई सच क्या स्पार्क का जरूरत, शोला तो हो रहा है आपके पास, शोला होता है आपके पास, but you need a spark. So that can be called as immediate cause. So there were two types of causes that led to political consciousness. One can be called as basic causes, and second can be called as the immediate cause. Now, with regard to the basic causes, there are a number of causes. Almost we have discussed most of them. Just I will highlight them in order to give an idea that whenever such question will be asked, how you will frame the answer of this question. So regarding basic causes, the first and foremost that can be said, it is the undemocratic or the autocratic rule of Dogra. If you see this Jammu and Kashmir state under Dogra till 1930, it was ruled autocratically, it was ruled despotically. The people had no right to exercise their franchise, the voting right to human beings. They had no right to elect representatives. There was no representative house, the assembly शासन, parliament शासन, council शासन. The people had no such right. There was no assembly. There was no council where the people will elect their representatives. The rulers ruled as per their will, as per their wish. The people had no freedom of expression. The people had no freedom to express themselves. Like पिछली बार भी मैंने कहा कि in 1924, as late as 1924, Mohammeddin Falk, a journalist from Lahore, is seeking a permission to start a newspaper in Jammu and Kashmir from Dogra rulers, but he was denied. This shows that actually there was a censorship going on. The people were not allowed to speak freely. The people were not allowed to express themselves freely. So what we see is that this rule was more and more despotic. On the other hand, we see the political climate of India was changed. How it was changing? That we see in India, British had introduced many acts. चाहे आप मोरले मिंटो रिफॉर्म्स देखोगे 1909 के, चाहे आप मोंटे चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स देखोगे 1919 के, यहाँ तक मैं जाऊंगा, यही पीरियड है हमारा इस वक्त. तो इन एक्ट्स में लोगों को राइट दिया गया था कि they will have a right to vote. तो really limited voting right was there. That people were given this right and they were choosing their representatives, the legislative assemblies, the provincial and the central one. मगर यहाँ पर ऐसा नहीं हो रहा. तो जब लोग बाहर निकले, अब the people, जैसे मैंने कल भी कहा, communication barrier खत्म हो गया. The people now move freely out of the state because of the rapid development of communication, because of development of roads, because of development of other facilities. The people of Jammu and Kashmir now went outside the state, different parts of India, and what they saw is that in different parts of India, the government is introducing the reforms. The government is moving towards democracy. But in Jammu and Kashmir, there was no trace of democracy. There was no trail of democracy. So our consciousness गई कि नहीं, we should try to bring the democratic atmosphere and democratic system in Jammu and Kashmir as well, like in other parts of India. Secondly, इस टाइम पर ये भी था कि एजुकेशन, जो मैं कल भी जिक्र किया, it also played a role. तो मैंने कल भी कहा आपको, from 1875, the John Dawkes was the first Englishman who tried to introduce the Western education in Jammu and Kashmir. So one is that this modern education spread to Jammu and Kashmir. What we see is that the people of Jammu and Kashmir were now exposed to modern ideas. They began to read English languages. They began to read European literature. They began to read classical literature. So once they were exposed to this modern education more and more, they got even opportunities to go for higher education outside the state, where they read more and more about the political movements, about the freedom movements, about the revolutions of the world. So once this education lot was produced, you see, modern education lot was produced. It were these people who began to crave for democracies, who began to crave for liberty, who began to crave for freedom of expression, who began to crave for freedom of association. So once they came back, receiving higher education, receiving modern education, they began to challenge the Dogra regime on these lines, that they want a responsible, democratic and a good government. So the modern education also played a role, consciousness. Thirdly, there were around the end of 19th century and at the beginning of 19th century, just 20th century rather, they were launched many socio-religious reform movements. The socio-religious reform movements, though aimed at reforming society and religion, अगर क्यों मकसद हुआ रिफॉर्म करो ना सोसाइटी तो रिलीजन, पर रिफॉर्म क्या करना था? रिफॉर्म किस चीज का? All those evils, all those superstitious beliefs and practices that had crept in the society. अगर आपको एक superstitious belief है, if the people are superstitious, they cannot be modern at the same time. You will see those people who are superstitious, they are actually it seems that they still live in the past age. It still seems that the modernity has not touched them. It seems that they do not use their mental faculties. brain So these socio-religious reform movements of the 20th century, whether launched by Muslims whether launched by Hindus, they were aimed at ending these superstitious beliefs that had crept in. So अगर चीमर मकसद चाहिए हो रिफॉर्म करो सोसाइटी तो रिलीजन, मगर ये बड़ा एक चीज चाहते हैं, वो है सुपरस्टिशियस बिलीफ्स को खत्म करना. और अगर सुपरस्टिशियस बिलीफ खत्म होते हैं तो यू कम टू मॉडर्निटी, you become modern man, you become modernized. And once you become modernized, you crave for modern institution. So when a political institution is modern, in modern means democracy. So lifestyle is modern. So soul is modern. You think positive. So I will quote examples, few examples from Muslim community. We had a person, Mirwais Ghulam Rasul Shah, who launched a social religious reform movement, but he aimed at his reform movement. He, like Sir Salman Khan of India, he was of this belief that reformation among the Muslims, their religion and their society cannot be reformed unless they take to modern education. So this Mirwais Ghulam Rasul Shah, he launched a movement known as Unjuman Nusratul Islam, and under this banner he opened a large number of schools, a chain of schools throughout Kashmir. The purpose of this was that modern education should be imparted to Muslims, so that they will remain away from these special beliefs and they will become more and more modern in their outlook and their approach. Similarly, we see Hussain Bakhtu, he launched a Ahl Hadith movement. Ahl Hadith movement, it opposed the pilgrimage, it opposed the worship of saints. The purpose, it opposed this sainthood. It opposed this Piri Muridi concept, which it believed that actually this is actually evil. Why? Because they used to believe that this keeps people more, or it makes people more superstitious in their approach. So Basanchim religious movement, but their aim was modern, to make people to use their brains rather than their heart. Then the social religious reform movements of the 19th and 20th century, they played a role. Like we have Hindu reformer Kashyap Bandhu. He urged the woman of the Hindu woman to wear saris, to drop out this farran and other tagas and wear saris, because he wants them to look very modern woman, unlike the traditional woman. Then one more cause that can be cited here, which played a very important role, it was the external support. Maybe the people of Jammu and Kashmir were not so much, brave enough to launch a movement, to launch, an agitation, unless and until they were supported from outside. Actually, it was the All India Kashmir Committee that was formed in Punjab that actually supported the people of Jammu and Kashmir against the Dogra regime. Because as already I said, there was a lot of restriction on the newspapers in Jammu and Kashmir, And it were actually the papers in Punjab who highlighted the grievances and the cause of people of Jammu and Kashmir in their papers. And even there only in Punjab, All India Kashmir Committee was formed. And this All India Kashmir Committee extended full, moral and material support to people of Jammu and Kashmir. This external support, it also was very vital as far as the political consciousness of the people of Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. Now we come to the immediate cause. Now with regard to immediate cause, in 1931, there were several incidents which raised the slogan, according to P.N. Bajaj. P.N. Bajaj, contemporary person, is a very prolific historian who belonged to the Hindu community and was a contemporary of that time. He says actually the incidents of 1931 raised the slogan, Islam in danger. And once this slogan was raised, Islam in danger, this actually mobilized the masses. और इससे मैं बताऊँ एक चीज, कश्मीर भी उसमें फॉल होता है, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर भी उसमें फॉल होता है. एक फेमस हिस्टोरियन गुजरा है, who died very recently, probably in the last year. His name was Eric Hobsbawm. Eric Hobsbawm'ın çivari kitab leşmen. Like we have Age of Extremes, Age of Wars, Age of Revolutions. 20th century world को belong करती है. This Eric Hobsbawm, he says, in pre-political societies, मतलब वो ये society is politically conscious action. In pre-political societies, they are the people they get mobilized around religious factors. The religion plays a very important role in the mobilization of people of the pre-political societies. इनमें politically conscious शासन के या traditional society शासन, इमन शासन mobilization, उनमें activism आता है सिर्फ एक factor पर, that is religion. I just drew up Jammu and Kashmir as well. In 1931, if the people mobilized, if the people erupted against Dogra regime, the factor that was most potent, it was religion. So which one P.N. Bajaj? So once this slogan Islam in danger was raised because of few incidents that I will quote, it actually helped in mobilization of the Muslim masses and also organization of the Muslim masses. But one more organization. Now, give me incident discoveries. On 29th April 1931, there was an incident in Jammu where an imam was reading khutbah. It was an Eid khutbah which was being read by the imam, and in the midst of the khutbah when he was following khutbah, then one inspector Sai came and he asked the imam to stop reading khutbah. It is said, it is believed that actually imam was referring to the oppressive rule of pharaohs and Pharaoh's rule. And maybe this inspector thought that actually he's referring to Dogra, that he asked this Imam to stop reading khutbah. And this led to provocation. It raised a hue and cry everywhere. That why the Imam was stopped from reading a khutbah. Similarly, in June 1931, there was an incident in the police line, Jammu, where it is said that one police constable, he was reciting Quran. Many believed that it was a Panch Surah that he was holding in his hand. That one Lambaram head constable, he came and he saw it because he had not attended the duties. So he, in a rash, in an anger, in a rage, he threw this Panch Surah out from the window. And this was thought to be a Tawhini Quran, defilement of the Quran. So these two incidents, it is P.N. Bazaz referring to that it raised a slogan, Islam in danger. And there was a lot of mobilization in Kashmir. हालांकि इंसान के जम्मू में स्पा, मगर in Kashmir when the news reached it, there was a lot of mobilization in Kashmir. There had spread हो गया, it was like a wildfire. There had been incidents of Tawhini Quran in Jammu. So in this backdrop, we see on 20th June 1931 a grand assembly of people, where so many religious leaders were called. जिनमें से शेख अब्दुल्ला था, मीर वाइज मोहम्मद यूसुफ शाह था, the grand father of this President Mir Wais, Umar Farooq. बहुत सारे लोगों को बुलाया गया, and they all addressed the people. Kowsar addressed the people, and all of them addressed the people from the public. Then suddenly from the public there emerged a very short stature man. His name was Abdul Qadir, and he came to the podium. He started addressing the people, and he gave a very fiery speech, saying that the Prophet of Islam is dearer to us than anything in the world, and we will not tolerate anything that is said and that is being done against our Prophet and his religion. तो कहते कि ये जो speech थी, it was very much provocative. It raised the emotions of the people, and that is why suddenly the Dogra forces came and he was arrested on spot. And this Abdul Qadir, many say he was actually from Gutlibagh, Gandarbal, but many believe that actually he was around this time cook to a major boat, was an English man. So he was arrested and he was tried. मुकदमा, मगर मुकदमा ऐसा चला कि लोग इतने इसको they were so much they had gone so much close to Abdul Qadir. They had begun to love so much of Abdul Qadir that they began to come to the court whenever his he was tried. The court rooms were noisy and the court grounds were noisy. So much public used to come to see him. That is why authorities decided no, it is not good to conduct a trial in the court. They decided that we should now next try him in the jail itself, the central jail. and he was tried in the central jail on 13th of July 1931. But the people reached there as well, and they broke the jail gate. Once they broke the jail gate, the magistrate on duty ordered the troops to fire, and in that firing, 22 Kashmiris were killed. And the day was celebrated as a Martyrs' Day. And it was this day and this killing that actually led to an unrest, and that actually led to consciousness, and that led to the formation of the this Muslim political organization. And even the Dogras were taken aback. क्योंकि इसके बाद हम देखते हैं कि Dogras appointed a commission under Birju Dalal to inquire into the riots, जो हो गए riot जैसा इसके पीछे क्या मकसद था या क्या कारण था. And then once the Birju Dalal committee, report was not satisfied, the Dogras appointed one more commission. It was the Glancy Commission in November 1931. It was headed by B.J. Glancy, and there were 2 Hindu representatives from Hindu community, 2 representatives from Muslim community, to make a dispassionate, inquiry. This shows how this incident was very important in the history of Jammu and Kashmir, and how Dogra rule also responded to this incident by appointing a commission. So this actually was political consciousness in Jammu and Kashmir and the causes responsible for it. Our question should say